I'm going to do a review of some of the issues I found with Real Housewives of Potomac, Season 6, Episode 11. This is Candiace's video shoot. Mia, she is seen trying to have another arranged luncheon with her, or meet up with her mother. I think she suggested going out for ice cream. Well, when you're older, ice cream may not be your favorite thing to go out for. I don't know anything about her mother's health or anything like that, but her mother wasn't that enthusiastic about it and said that she was going to be busy, couldn't make it, but they would rearrange to do it on another time. And then Mia started talking about that her mother really was closer with her sister, and that she felt that she was also a fun first person to be with, and that she felt that her mother should also enjoy being out with her. But what Mia doesn't understand is that Mia's siblings are all from different parents. So each child has a different reaction. Mia saw her mother at one time in her life, and then of course Mia's mother is going to remember all of her interactions with the social service system, the court system, and Mia's going off to foster care, her drug problems, and any relationship problems that she had with the father of Mia. So when her mother sees Mia, all of these issues are wrapped up in just seeing Mia's body scars, and hearing Mia talk, and that may have a certain effect on the mother, which may have some negativity, some positivity. Of course, one of the things Mia's mother had told us is that when she was at work, she got a call to go home, and when she got home, she found, Mia had spilled this oatmeal or something all over her, and she's scarred for life from this, and that Mia's dad was in the basement having sex with some woman. So these are all negative issues that every time Mia is present, these issues come back up to her mother, and then her mother said she tried to kill herself over that particular man. So these are deep, deep issues, and Mia doesn't realize it, but just her actual presence. And how much does she look like that man? We don't know, but if she looks like her father, and Mia's mother, when she sees Mia, sees representations of her father in Mia's face or body or how she acts or talks, that's all going to put up certain reactions which may not be conducive to Mia's mother ever wanting to come back and having a real close relationship with Mia. Now, these are just ideas. I don't know what really is going through Mia's mother's head, but these are things that Mia has to come to terms with, where she differs from her sister. Her sister saw her mother at a different point in her life with a different man, a different relationship, and so they may not be as negative as she has with the feelings she has with Mia, and so it may be easier for her to get closer to that sister than it would be for her to ever get close to Mia. And if that's true, Mia needs to also see what is wrong with her relationship with her sister. This is the first time we even heard of this sister, and this means that Mia has not had a good relationship with this sister, and this is the sister that Mia's mother really likes. So Mia needs to reach out. She needs to talk with her sister, have some experiences at this age with her sister, and also mend any issues they may have, and really become a family so that Mia's mother doesn't feel split between the two girls. Because Mia's mother at this point looks like she wants to go with the other sister rather than Mia, and that's just the way it is. As far as Chris, again, I've been pointing out in my past podcasts that Candiace treats Chris in a very subservient way, and she treats him as a servant in the house, as the cook of the house, and they don't really seem to have that really warm, fuzzy relationship that you'd like to see, especially since there are only two people in the house, and when she talks to him as if she's, an employer and a boss and so forth. And Chris has accepted this title of husbander, but the problem is he has even expressed it verbally. He wants to get paid. He feels if he's going to have this job where she can order him to come to certain events and be available on certain dates and times, he feels that he needs to get paid for that duty, and he also wants respect. If he says he's going to do something and he's paid to do it, he feels that she needs to respect him for the job he has undertaken. Now, so far, we have seen that he said he had cars set up for this video shoot, and when the ladies get there, there are no cars, so he has failed as the manager for that video shoot, and we don't really know what's going on. From looking at it, no one seems surprised that there are no cars there. Although they say they're surprised, they don't act surprised, and they readily come up and ask the girls to use their private cars to substitute in the video shoot. Now, I was surprised that they had asked each of the girls to drive up to this video shoot separately, because they said it was a 3-hour drive to get from their houses to this place that Candiace had chosen. Well, that's a long way to go, and you take a lot of risks on the highway. You have gas and time and so forth. So no one wants to drive for 3 hours to be in some little video shoot. So I was surprised that they didn't have a bus or some sort of limousine or something to take them on this 3-hour drive, so they would look refreshed and they wouldn't be all stressed out and sweaty or whatever when they got there. But it's explained when there are no cars for the video shoot that Candiace needed the cars to be in the video shoot. That's why she had each of them come up separately. So that was all planned, but it wasn't revealed to the girls. It was expressed as a mistake, which I feel was a lie. I think that was planned. They had planned to use those girls' cars, and then they were free, because no one who rents out cars is going to miss an opportunity to rent out a bunch of cars, especially expensive cars, because they're going to be much more expensive to rent, and it's going to be a lot more income for the business. So if the cars aren't there, it's because they weren't ordered, or if they had been ordered, they weren't paid for properly. So I feel that was fixed and that was done on purpose. And then Chris coming up at that particular time to express anger about some problem with the video shoot was also staged, because he wouldn't come up 1 hour before the sun goes down or before they lose their lighting for this video shoot. That had to be staged, because he also had to drive 3 hours, I'm assuming, to get there. So he had to be on his way a long time before that, and he knew he was going to be up there for the video shoot. And with modern technology, he could have easily handled it by FaceTime or something else. He didn't actually need to be present if he was going to be coming up so late. It would have been easier for him to stay at home, be on the phone, arrange for the cars to be driven over, and taking care of the issue, rather than drive all the way up for 3 hours to try to come up and stand there in person. But it did give us an opportunity to see his shirt, his work shirt, and where he works, and so forth. And so it did show that he had a job, and he is a online cook, and that he does have some sort of business going on in the field of cooking. So that was the only thing that was explained by that. And then he came up with his apron on and his cooking shoes, and that was kind of odd, because if you're driving for 3 hours, you have plenty of time to take off your apron and at least look like you're coming up for a meeting in a parking lot. The next thing I'm going to talk about is Candiace's mother. Now, this woman is just very pleasant. I really liked her, and I liked her more than Candiace. I think she would be a good replacement for Candiace, because Candiace really doesn't bring anything to the table that's interesting. But her mother seemed like a very interesting person, and she was very open and honest. Mia goes up to her mother and starts talking, and she immediately finds a bond. And I would have too. I have had friends that look like Candiace's mother in the past, and I would have immediately formed a bond with her too. And she's like the other people on the show in that she is separated from her husband. She is a professional, and she has children, which is Candiace. And so she would have more in common with Giselle and Mia and Robyn and Karen rather than Candiace, who kind of is doing this video stuff and really has no children and really doesn't relate as well to the group. She doesn't see things from a mother's eyes. So I think she would be a great addition to the show as another character. Well, Mia, on meeting Candiace's mother, goes up to her and asks what her age is. And everyone seems to feel that was an improper thing to do. But I think Mia was feeling a bond with this woman and was wondering if they're the same age and that they could probably relate better to each other. And I don't feel it was improper. In fact, when I was growing up, my mother was often included with my friends. We would have talks at my house. My mother was totally involved. And so we were a very open book with friends. And so I think that that was not improper from Mia's standpoint, in that she felt very close and she kind of bonded with Candiace's mother as a friend and peer. Candiace's mother has been having a lot of stress. She's been supporting Candiace financially and emotionally because Chris isn't really as involved as Candiace wants him to be in this video stuff, and he's not a dancer, he's not a singer, and he's not putting up the money for this stuff that Candiace is doing, and he's not putting up the money for her to go get her MBA degree, and he's just basically the husband. And so she's frustrated with that because she says he quit his job. He didn't leave his business as it's been presented to us. She said he quit his job when he married Candiace, and he's been more of a house husband. And she doesn't feel he's bringing in an income, and he's not contributing to the family. And so everyone is speculating that she is still paying for this big house upgrade that Candiace and her husband just underwent. Previously, Candiace's mother was paying for the house that they lived in, but Candiace says with this new house, her mother's name is not on the deed, and Candiace says it's just her and her husband. Now, she didn't say her husband, but I assume it was her and her husband. So she's looking for some support from her friends, some insight as to what's going on with her daughter. And I can see it from her perspective. When you have one child and you're totally vested in this child, and that you're pouring many thousands of dollars into this kid, trying to make her a singer and a dancer and a MBA and a housewife in a big new house, you have a lot of emotional investment because she's your child, and you have a lot of financial investment because she's very needy. So you want to know not only from her mouth what's going on, but you want to know from her friends. So get some feedback. How's she doing? What's going on? And let them know what kinds of issues you're having, so maybe they can fill you in on their concerns, and maybe they can help discuss their viewpoint as to how they see things going. So I don't think it was at all improper for Mia to discuss personal things with Dorothy. I mean, they're even calling her by her first name, Dorothy. If they wanted a formal atmosphere with this woman, they would have called her by her title, whatever her title is. So she had already moved out of the formal zone, and she had moved more into the friend zone, where conversations are going to be casual. Now Mia goes and asks if Chris is paid to be the manager, and I think that's a very proper question. Mia has driven 3 hours to get to this parking lot, and when she gets there, there was absolutely nobody there. Well, we know that the Bravo cameras are there because they take some shots of her by herself in the parking lot with her car. So we know that that camera's there, but none of these video people are there. But she did park, and you know, when you invite women to a location, you have certain safety concerns you have to consider. You can't invite women by themselves driving up to an empty parking lot with no security. You don't know whether there are vagrants around or if there's any trouble brewing in the neighborhood, and you just don't have them milling around by themselves in the parking lot for their own safety, security. I mean, all of these women have children, and they can't go out and start getting into street fights or have other things happen to them. I mean, they have real responsibilities. Candiace, on the other hand, is a much streetier person. She is the type of person to get into a fight, and she doesn't have any real responsibilities except for her husband. So she would be more comfortable alone in a parking lot. But these women have a lot that they are responsible for, and you can't invite them someplace and then have them totally abandoned. But of course the Bravo cameras are there. But otherwise they're totally abandoned in a parking lot. That is absolutely ridiculous. So I think Mia had a right to say, what am I getting into here? Why was I asked to come here when there was nobody here? And, you know, like if something happens to you, or is Chris liable? I mean, is he an actual employee, or does he have issues? Now we know that Candiace's mother is concerned that Chris drinks too much. So does he have drinking issues? We don't know. It is said that Chris is a sommelier. That means he is an official wine expert. He is trained in wine, the making of wine and the tasting of wine. And he is a member of wine tasting organizations. He has a degree in cooking from a prestigious cooking school, and he also has a degree in mixology. So obviously, if you don't want wine in the house, or if you have an objection to somebody who drinks, you would not marry a sommelier or a mixologist. So that is just who Chris is. That is his background. That is his education, training, his specialty, and that is something they're going to have to accept. But it does not mean that he can become an alcoholic. But I don't think Candiace is knowledgeable enough to know whether Chris is an alcoholic or not. So I think it was appropriate for Mia to inquire as to whether Chris had official authority to tell the girls where to go, or whether he was just doing things on his own and was an unreliable person. Now, the girls were very happy to lend their cars. Mia did not, and the other girls did. Now, I would not have lent my car either, because there are security concerns. All of these people, again, are pretty much single, and when you lend your car, people can identify your car and trace you down. And these people should not be placed in that kind of position, especially without being given time to think over the pluses and minuses of having your car in a video. Now, they said when Askalh put her car up to be in the video shoot, her license plate was visible in the video. I don't know whether they blurred it or what happened. I'm sure they blurred it, but you don't know. I mean, that's a risk you take when you put your car in a video shoot. Are there other things about your car that someone might notice and be able to track you down later? Or if they live in your city and they know you and your car type, it might be easier for them to be on the lookout for you. These are things single women do not want to deal with, and so I thought that was really bad to have to put the women in that position. Wendy was listening in, and she thought it was very bad of Mia to ask any questions of Candiace's mother. And then she went to Askalh. Askalh agreed, and they dashed off to tell Karen that Mia had asked this question, and then of course that got back to Candiace, and that caused other problems because Candiace became upset that Mia had talked to her mother. I think it just might be where you're from. In Nigeria, they don't do that. I mean, you can guess people's ages. Wendy has a right to feel that you don't do that to a Nigerian, but of course Dorothy was not Nigerian, so that was not even an issue. You have to know that these things are more or less an open book the minute you decide you want to go on television, and the only thing you can do is, if you want to be secretive, is to not be on television. You can be in your private home, and everything can be private, but the minute you decide you're going to be in the media, everything is going to be revealed. And when these girls met Mia, that was the first thing they asked her, how old are you? And then they wanted to start an argument over her age. And so I thought the whole thing was pretty crazy about going in on this whole thing with asking the age of Candiace's mother, Dorothy. I certainly hope we see more of Dorothy in the future. And as for Grace, Giselle just needs to hire her a professional driving trainer and hope that she does not get into an accident in the near future, because this video will be used as evidence. And that's the end of this episode.